To me, it was a way of getting rid of my demons. It was kind of my little self-treatment. I think psychologically it's gotten so much better because of everything that I've written down and gotten out, and I think that I'm a way more stable person now than I used to be. So psychologically I think it's, now to me music is more, I don't know how to put it, it's less about therapy as much as it is about just self-expression. You know, in the early days, it was a therapeutic thing. It was something that I had to do, and I was really insane, and volatile, and crazy, and violent when I was younger. And now I'm a lot more mellow and happy, you know. And it's probably because of the stuff that I wrote, you know, and got it out, and it helped me to analyze it and to understand it. There's blood in those lyrics and there's blood in that music. I mean, some people get it, some people don't. And I understand, because I think that it's kind of, it's weird music, you know, because of my roots. When I was growing up, I was listening to mariachi music, norteños music, country western, because I grew up right by Bakersfield. I mean, Buck Owens was there, Merle Haggard was there. And then the other way, 40 miles away, is where Frank Zappa and Captain Beefheart were from. You know, an hour and a half was Los Angeles, so at certain times of the evening, like I would get radio stations from Los Angeles coming in, and I would get all that influence, rock influence. So it was all these things like molded into heavy music, you know, metal and stuff. Music was everywhere. When I was a kid, because of the Oklahoma migration that happened in the 1930s, a lot of the migrants that had come from Oklahoma ended up right in Bakersfield and Tehachapi and the area basically where I grew up, the San Joaquin Valley. So the kids across the street, like there was basically people from Oklahoma, we call them Okies, and they would play guitars. Like I remember the guy across the street used to play guitar, like country music, and I would sit and listen to them. And then, you know, my mom was really into norteños music, which is like Tigres del Norte especially, she was really into. My father was really into mariachi and country music, especially the honky-tonk stuff, like what's considered now outlaw country. My dad was really into. So I got exposed to all that music. And then later on I got exposed to rock. And I think the first thing that I heard that really scared the shit out of me was Jimi Hendrix doing this Star Spangled Banner that a friend of mine brought over. And I thought it was just the most reckless, annoying, disgusting thing I'd ever heard in my life, but I was so taken by it that I couldn't stop listening to it. So I remember I hid. I was really small. I was really a young kid, and I hid somewhere, and then I came back and I sort of like looked around the corner, and then I wanted to hear it again. And then I got a guitar and I started making music, and that's when it just sort of happened. It happened because of Hendrix.
And so the dance begins, the gods are beckoning, with undulating messages in tone. The shake, the quivering, the snake, the slithering. Quantum is the answer as we sneak across the brain cells, the crumbs.
I was born in Bakersfield, California, and my father soon moved us. Well, my father and my mother were already living in a town called Monolith, which was a company town. When I grew up there, it was like 3,000 people population. So there were fields, there were mountains. It's 4,000 feet up. It's a giant valley up in the Sierras. It's the final stretch of the Sierras that come through California, and they're called the Tehachapi Mountains. And so it was really country. I mean, it was like bears, and there were coyotes, and like I seen a bear getting skinned when I was a kid, and that wasn't a weird thing, you know, to walk down the street and see. I remember I used to walk down the street and see my neighbor, Mr. Johnson, just skinning an elk or beheading a deer. You know, it was like, it was country living. It was a very rural sort of upbringing where I grew up. My mother was a farm worker. She was from Mexico. She had always been what they call campesino. It's a migrant. So they live in camps, and they just work the fields. They go from place to place working fields. My father, by the time he married my mother, was working at a cement factory. And the cement factory owned a town named Monolith, and it was a company town completely owned by the cement company. And they had a side where the blacks and the Mexicans, they called it Mexican Town because it was all Mexicans, there were no blacks, where the Mexicans lived, and there was a part of the town where the whites lived. It was across the tracks on the other side. It was a very nice part. And where the Mexicans lived, it was kind of a little shanty town over on, directly across from the plant. So, I mean, just growing up, I was immediately sort of introduced to the whole idea of segregation. I mean, people say it doesn't exist. People probably think that it didn't exist in California, but it most certainly did. I mean, I'd seen it firsthand growing up. Ronald Reagan went on TV during the grape boycott and was eating grapes while being interviewed on television. And these are messages that these people were sending to the Mexican people of California, you know, Arizona, you know, wherever working class people were trying to get a little bit better, you know, struggling for a little bit of justice in the world. The message was, we don't give a shit about you. The message was, you're just as low as a dog. You are a dog. So that's how I grew up. You know, that's what I seen firsthand, in the fields, with the people that, you know, that these rednecks called wetbacks, working alongside them, growing up with an incredibly militant family, or militant according to the powers that be, and learning how to play guitar, playing guitar, and writing political music. Because TOTIMOSHI, I mean, it is political music. Ladrón is all about, it was written during the Bush administration, and a lot of the songs in there are about, the whole concept of a ladrón is it's a thief, it's also a wolf. So I wrote it with that idea in mind. It was like, well, I'm gonna write this like sort of double-sided meaning record, but it's mostly about politicians being thieves and stealing from people, and, you know, giving you shit and telling you that it's gold. Oakland is where the band started. It was fun. It was like a really fun time when we were living in Oakland. We actually lived with High on Fire guys for a little while. Desi was our roommate. We knew a lot of really amazing musicians there, had a really good time. And then we moved to Los Angeles. And as soon as I moved to Los Angeles, I started touring with the Melvins as a guitar tech. And that led to touring with Shrine Builder, Neurosis, Sleep, and such great experiences touring with those guys, because everybody is like so good, like incredible musically, incredible as people. And I just recently quit all that stuff because I want to make music. I want to be home, and I want to make my art, and I don't want to be on the road always, you know, tending to other people's artistic needs. I want to tend to my own. So, I mean, I would say, you know, if you're a young person and you're an aspiring musician, and this is what you really want to do in life, like, think about it, you know, because you're probably not going to make a lot of money. You're probably not going to be rich and famous. But if this is what you love, if this is really, really what you love, then do it. But don't expect all these great things to happen, you know. Expect to be poor. Expect to be really frustrated in life. Just expect, I mean, great things are abound as well. because artistic expression brings great things to you. But it brings great things to you in your psyche, to your soul, you know, to the things that are really important in life. And before you end up in that pine box, man. I wrote the video for Avenger. So I had a whole idea because Chris, our drummer, was such a clown. He was so funny. We did a few tours where he was just killing me, like with all of his funny, like the way he would use his hands and stuff. So I got ideas when I was writing Avenger for, like instantly got video ideas, and I wanted to use Chris as the main focal point of the video. And so that's why I kind of wrote the whole screenplay like around Chris. Just having him as the star, and it was perfect because he's really good at it. That guy should be an actor. He's so good. It was funny. Chris Fugate, our old drummer, moved back to Kansas City, and I mean, honestly, I thought this is it. You know, of like 15 years of this, and I thought, well, maybe it's time to put TOTIMOSHI aside. I'm just kind of done with it, and time to move on. And we discussed it a lot, and I mean, we never really completely agreed that it was over, so we just were sort of like, well, let's just put it on hiatus, and if it's going to be a permanent hiatus, then so be it. But so we started playing in another band with some friends, and that band was going for a little while, and then it just sort of started to wane, and then it just sort of broke up. Pretty much literally the day that a drummer that I had called to jam had called me back and asked if he could try out for TOTIMOSHI. And so I told him, yeah, learn a few songs, and then I went to the rehearsal studio with him, and the guy blew me away. He was just amazing, you know. So pretty much like right when the other band died, TOTIMOSHI came back to life. And I think it's just like the universe telling you, well, this is yours. This is your vehicle that you've been, you know, steering all these years, and you should maintain it, and you should keep it going. And so we'll keep it going. You know, we haven't made any money. We haven't made any profit ever. But, you know, it's not really about that. It's about art. It's about music. It's about continuing your legacy. And when I'm gone, that's what I'm going to leave behind. And if, you know, if nobody listens to it ever, so be it. You know, it'll be in the wind. But if people do listen to it, and if I affect one person with my music, then there was a reason for it, you know. I mean, I guess even if I don't affect anybody, there was a reason for it. Mankind isn't going to go forever. You know, so really we're all just sort of dancing with the wind for the little bits of time that we're here. So that's what I'm doing. I'm dancing with the wind.